guys, I'm Karina, this is English in Brazil e hoje eu vou fazer uma segunda parte de um vídeo que aparentemente vocês gostaram bastante, vou deixar ele aqui no card, que são 8 palavras e frases que a gente aprende nos livros, a gente aprende até nos cursos de inglês, mas que depois de um tempo a gente descobre que não são tão usadas assim no dia a dia pelos falantes nativos. Então, antes de começar, eu só quero deixar bem claro que não é errado usar nenhuma dessas palavras, tá? Elas são usadas sim, mas elas podem soar muito formais em determinados contextos, então é isso que a gente vai discutir aqui hoje. E esse vídeo é patrocinado pelo Cambly, que é uma plataforma na qual você pode fazer aulas com falantes nativos do Canadá, dos Estados Unidos e da Inglaterra. Você pode usar o Cambly tanto pelo computador quanto pelo celular. Eu já fiz um vídeo falando sobre o Cambly, você pode ver aqui no card também. Naquele vídeo eu usei o computador e uma aula agendada, mas hoje eu vou usar o celular e vou procurar um professor na hora, assim, para me ajudar a falar sobre essas palavras que eu selecionei aqui. E eu quero que esse professor seja americano, então espero que eu encontre um que tope participar do vídeo. Hi Tim, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm fine. We're going to talk about I'm fine today, but wait a little bit more. Tell them where you're from, where you live, please.
I'm from the United States of America. I grew up in Florida, Orlando. That's where my family lives. And I live in Ecuador, South America. So I love Ecuador.
Yeah, so you speak Spanish as well, don't you?
Poco habla español.
Un poquito. So yeah, we were talking about the expression I'm fine because this is one of the first sentences we learn in English in Brazil, because we learn when somebody asks you, how are you? Well, you have to say, I'm fine, thanks. So what do you think about it?
Well, I'm fine, people do use, but it's not common. Most people will say, I'm good or doing great. Usually it's followed by a question. Like, I'm good, how are you? How's your family? Or but not everybody says I'm fine. It's not that common. It's very uncommon to say I'm fine. So not many people say that. Usually it's like if somebody's in a hurry, like if you're at a fast food restaurant or you're somewhere and you see a friend and they say, how you doing? You go, I'm fine, but you're in a hurry. So it's kind of like, it's a non-conversational way to say I'm fine.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and I've read once that when somebody's trying to sell you something, somebody on the street, then you can just say, well, no, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Meaning that you don't want it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect way. Or I'm good. More than likely they'll say I'm good, but I'm fine is one way to just show somebody that you're in a hurry or that you don't want to talk too much. Okay,
and what about a restaurant? At a restaurant, would you say I'm fine if you don't want more wine, for example?
Yes, you would. You would say that. You would put your hand over the glass and say, I'm fine.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
So
you know all about that, don't you?
Thank you. So this was the first one. The second expression is goodbye, which is something that we learn in the first semesters of the course. So
I use it a lot on Cambly, but it's not a common. It's not one of the common things that people say. If you're with friends or you're with family, they're going to say goodbye, or they're going to say, okay, we'll see you later. Have a good one. They'll ask a question like, when are you coming back? So that's probably what you're going to hear more than goodbye.
So have a good one.
Have a good one. See you later.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Now there are other places that have different expressions for example, depending on where you're from. If you're in certain places, they'll say, "See y'all later." It's kind of a hillbilly accent. See y'all later. And so if you're not familiar with those things, it may be a little bit different than what you're used to hearing than just goodbye. Same thing with good night. Good night is similar. People don't say good night. They'll say, come here, let's hug, sweetie, or have a good night, or something to that effect.
The next one is congratulations, and it is used, but in a different situation than we use parabéns in Brazil. In Brazil. So could you explain this to us?
Congratulations is used for weddings, for maybe a birth, or maybe an anniversary or a birthday. Not birthdays. No, they don't use it on birthdays. But they do use it for those three things more than anything. if somebody wins an election, they'll say congratulations. But so
Mm-hmm.
those are more formal ways of using it. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you pass a test, then somebody will say good job or good going or great job, excellent, or things to that nature, rather than saying congratulations. It's not used that much. It is used, but in those three incidences are the general ones. Wedding, birth, or anniversary are usually when congratulations are in order.
Okay, you mean birth when a baby is born, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But not in a person's birthday, because then you say happy birthday, not parabéns.
Everybody says that. Yeah. So they
Yeah,
don't say
because-
congratulations on that.
No. And you can also say congrats, right?
Yeah, that's another thing they do. They'll say on some things they'll say congrats rather than the whole word. I know on Facebook they'll say congrats for anniversaries and stuff like that.
And also way to go when
Yeah,
somebody
that's
is
another
doing
one.
a
Yeah,
good
way
job.
to go.
Way to
Excellent.
go. The next one is you're welcome. I have already talked a little bit about it on my channel, but let's learn a little bit more. When do you use you're welcome?
We try to teach our children to say you're welcome, but generally people will say if somebody says thanks for helping, they'll say no problem. They'll say, oh no, just give me a call when you need help again. Don't worry about it. Things like that, rather than actually saying you're welcome. They're going to say things that are like anytime.
Anytime.
No, it's on me. Don't worry about it. Things like that. Generally, they say, but children we try to teach say you're welcome, but not everybody says it.
The next one is a specific word, which is continue.
Continue is never used. If you're standing in line at a fast food restaurant or something, they'll say go ahead. They'll say they won't say continue. It's just not used at all, hardly at all. Proceed is similar to that. They don't use proceed very much.
It's very formal, right?
Very formal, and so they don't use it hardly at all. They'll use something other than that.
Okay, this word was suggested by Tim. It wasn't on my list before, which is the word vomit. He said nobody uses this word in English.
No, they don't. They either say throw up or puke. Those are the words they use, but vomit is, maybe a doctor will use it, but that's about as formal as we get with that. But if you want to be funny, you might say regurgitate, but that's not very many people say that.
I think that is extremely formal, and that's why it sounds funny, right?
Yeah, extremely formal, and that makes it funny. But no, usually they say throw up or puke, but not vomit.
Puke. Can you use it in a sentence? Puke?
Yeah, I had so much to drink that I puked.
Okay. Oh, yeah. It happens sometimes.
That's it. So conversational English is very informal. When you speak with somebody and it's conversational, it's not like the textbooks. It's totally different than the textbooks. So that's just something that you have to remember.
So if you want to talk to Tim, you can find him on Cambly, right?
Yes, excellent. Yeah, look me up, Tim G on Cambly. Look at my schedule, and I'll be happy to help you.
Do you have many Brazilian students?
I have 3 or 4.
Oh, not that many.
Not that many, but I love talking to my neighbor in Brazil.
Okay,
so
thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
helping us.
It's nice being on your show. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye. Então é isso, espero que tenham gostado desse vídeo, espero que tenham aprendido alguns novos usos para expressões que a gente já conhecia, né? Provavelmente vocês já conheciam essas palavras. E se você quiser fazer uma aula com o Tim no Cambly ou com qualquer outro professor, você pode usar o meu código English in Brazil, que você ganha 15 minutos totalmente gratuitos. Então você pode fazer uma aula grátis, experimental, de graça. Então aproveitem o meu código enquanto tá funcionando, tá? Vão experimentar e depois voltem aqui no canal para me dizerem o que vocês acharam do Cambly. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to English in Brazil. See you next video.